Hey, what's up? Brandon here. Making this video to go into a lot more detail about this personal assistant role because what we're finding with a lot of applicants that we've had so far, and even some previous team members that have fulfilled this role, is that we're looking for someone that is a true rock star in being a personal assistant, meaning not just doing what is tasked as is tasked and like the most obvious way of doing something, but someone that can think extra levels ahead. So for example, everyone knows how to make an appointment at a restaurant or to book an Airbnb or to book flights. So most of like the video submissions that we've been getting, that's the kind of stuff that people are talking about. Oh, and I'll book your flights for you. It's like, well, that's cool and all, but there's actually AI tools that can do that already. So we're looking for someone that is significantly operating at a significantly higher level than what technology can already do for us today. And let alone basically what just more or less anyone with a set of hands and a laptop can do. So I'm going to intentionally not go too deep into examples of what would be a higher level way of going about things. But the general idea is to know what's going on in my life and then to be able to, on your own, enhance it. Enhance it or make it more efficient or take things off my plate so that my headspace can stay in the realm of creation, because our businesses are getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and we have a very idealistic vision for changing the world. And in order to achieve that, I can't have my mind like stressing over like really small, mundane things comparatively. All these things are important, they're basic functions of my life. So I mean, even like booking airfare and booking Airbnbs, it's still very important. It has to get done. So it's not to take away the importance of it, but if my mind is on that stuff, then it doesn't have the space available for creativity to flow in. And that's really what we're shooting for. So I'm not gonna show this to you guys. But I have a list of tasking that you'd be jumping on pretty much right away. And so some of this stuff is like, I just need to do it once and then it's done. Some of this stuff is more like repeat stuff. So one of the major roles of this personal assistant will be in the realm of research, a lot of research. And there is for sure a skill associated with being able to research stuff online. Being able to use Google, sure, everyone knows how to type something into Google, but to really dig up good quality information and efficiently and quickly, there is a skill to that. And then add the layer of presentation of that information in a way that is very quickly and efficiently digested. There is skill to all that. So, and actually, before I go into this, I want to talk a little bit more about the tech side of things. So, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give myself maybe like a 6.5 for tech abilities for someone that works in like the e-commerce realm, basically using technology, which is not very good. As a personal assistant, you would need to be at or preferably above my level. So not necessarily like an IT genius, but I'm constantly dealing with like device issues and tech issues and stuff like that. So to be able to know how to research stuff and troubleshoot stuff using like Reddit or calling into customer service, or whatever the case may be, in a way that actually saves me time. So not just going, hey, Brandon, did you try this? Hey, Brandon, did you try this? Hey, Brandon, did you try this? Like I've had some other applicants submit stuff where it's just kind of okay, you found the first solution online of someone talking remote, like a little bit about the problem, but didn't even go into the depth of seeing that solution didn't work for most people. You kind of just like throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks rather than going that extra layer of depth. So I'll give one example that I'm dealing with right now is I use Google Fi as my phone carrier because I'm a nomad. So what's awesome about Google Fi is they have a contract with basically like almost the entire world's cell phone carriers, the towers rather. So anywhere in the world I land, as soon as I land, I instantly have service and it's very affordable. And it's quality service. Well, the problem I just ran into is Google Fi doesn't have this clearly defined in their terms of service, but through it's very ambiguous where they say if we determine that we think you're basically living abroad outside the United States, then we shut down your international service temporarily. And they basically leave it like that. And they don't give you any insight. So my own research, I found that it appears as though if you've been outside the US for 2 billing cycles, then they shut down your international service until you've had a full billing cycle inside of the US. And that's a huge pain in the ass for me because I'm rarely inside the US for what would ultimately be like somewhere between 45 and 60 days because I have to close out the billing cycle I'm in when I land and then go through a full 30-day cycle. So that would be like an average of 45 days. And that's pretty rare. So one of these tasks is to find a solution to that because to date, no one has a better international plan than Google Fi. T-Mobile used to have a good one, now it's shitty. You can buy these SIM cards that you can slam in your phone and basically like buy data anywhere you land. I've only looked into that briefly and maybe that's like an okay solution, especially for throwing into my backup phone. But Google Fi is for sure where it's at. So one of these projects would be for you to figure out how we can kind of loophole or play around with Google Fi in order to make it work. Now, I have ideas in my head already, but that's not what I'm going to share with you because, this is where that above level thinking is going to come into play. The solution isn't readily available on Reddit. I spent about like 15, 20 minutes of research. It's definitely not going to be available by calling into Google customer service, which is, I had this as a question for some other applicants, and that was their solution. It's like, no, if we're trying to loophole the system, we're not going to go tell them that we're going to loophole the system, and they're definitely not going to give us an answer on how to loophole the system. So it's this extra layer of thinking that we're really shooting for. And then, on the tech side of things, like every week, AI technology is improving more and more. And that's something that you will have to stay up on in terms of how it could affect performance in your role. And there's so many ways in which that is so. I'm not going to share a ton of them with you, but for example, you no longer have to learn how to code spreadsheets. All the learning how to do all the different functions, VLOOKUPs, all that stuff can now be done through AI tools where you just prompt engineering, like via text, say what you want to happen and poof, there it is. It'll input the data, it'll format things, it'll do all kinds of craziness. That's a skill that as a personal assistant, you ought to be able to learn on your own. Because being able to present information is a huge part of this role. So to be able to acquire information and to consolidate that information and then present that information, that's a huge part of this. So there's a lot of ways in which AI and other technology can use to do that, as opposed to the much more, like 95% of applicants or more are really just doing things the same way that someone would have done this stuff 15 years ago. Poke around on Google, look for information, copy paste into spreadsheets, some kind of crusty looking spreadsheet, blah, 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 blah. Really looking for someone that's going to go above and beyond. And I'm going to create a salary structure that's going to support that. So the person that we're wanting to recruit is not someone that's just looking for a remote work job. It's not just someone that's looking for getting their feet wet because, I know how to use Google so I can be a virtual assistant. I know how to book stuff on Airbnb. I know how to book hotels. No, we're looking for someone that is basically a strategic personal assistant. someone that is going to truly autonomously be able to carry out tasking in a way that would be significantly better than myself, and definitely significantly better than the rest of the applicants that are out there. So some research projects, for example, I'm going to give you some ranges here. So like we already told you about the Google Fi, and therefore we may as well look for Google Fi alternatives. Again, I kind of poked around. I didn't really see anything that was like really inspiring me, but maybe there's something out there. Then just like basic shopping research as well. For example, hotspot devices. That's kind of a related thing. So living as a nomad, it would be really nice to have a decent hotspot device, something that would be an improvement on just hotspotting with my phones. So, what is that? I don't really know. Another project, this was actually done by one of our creatives on our team, but it's a good example, is this year I'm going to start producing tons and tons and tons of content. We're going to make a strong effort to build a personal brand for myself, as well as incorporate my face into our product brands. And then also we're going to build a community brand, the NOVAEO community brand, of which I'll obviously also be a face of. So I'm going to need to be producing tons and tons of content. So what a project would have been, and there's probably still like a little bit left over, would be, okay, what is the content equipment that would be best for me to be carrying around with me? So, okay, what's that mean? It needs to be portable, light, and easy to use, easy to basically like pull out and boom, there you go. Because this is one of the things that I would have to input into this task, is I need things to be like, when the inspiration comes, I need to be able to produce. I don't like scheduling content. It's not like, okay, 9 a.m. tomorrow, I'm going to go for a photo shoot at this place. No, it's more like I'm working on something, I get some really awesome idea, and within 15 seconds, I want to be able to produce content, like a video kind of like this or whatever. So that means, okay, you probably aren't a content creator. Maybe you are, but probably not. So you have to be able to learn like at least base level content production. So you need to be doing research to figure out, okay, what kinds of cameras are out there, and like video, photo equipment. How important is lighting? What about green screen, microphone, all this stuff? What about, what's going to be the setup for when we're doing podcast style content? What would be the setup for doing selfie video content? What would be the setup for blah, 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 blah. So you'd have to have this ability to research on your own, whether it's jumping into Reddit or Facebook groups, obviously Google, blah, 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 blah. So there's actually like a decent amount of learning that you would have to do so that you can then figure out what would be best to recommend for equipment. Does that make sense? So you wouldn't be expected to know what equipment off the top of your head, but you'd have to have the ability to do this like much more in-depth research to figure out what is it that people are using today. What are people that, similar budget, which honestly kind of like wouldn't have much of a budget for this if we're really going to go deep into it, but what are other people using at our level? Okay, here's another pretty big ongoing project that both Derek, my business partner / best friend, and I are really excited about. So he's also a digital nomad. And we want to create basically like a research template that you would do for any like city or area that we're going to travel to, and to do this, way ahead of time. So like every city, every town has different like apps that are really handy. Maybe like different Facebook or WhatsApp or Telegram communities of different stuff that most people are in. Digital nomad, expats, living in like housing groups that might be good to join. So create like a recommendation list of that. Any like go-to services, like, okay, here are some fantastic massage therapists in the area. Here's some private chefs, private cooks in the area. Basically like a huge stack of information that would serve as like a really good information source for not just Derek and I, but the general public, because then we want to turn that into like a nice presentation, and then use that as something that we can basically introduce to these communities of people that basically say like, hey, I'm new to the community, here's something I have to offer. Meanwhile, what's cool for you is we put a little thing on there, like a little QR code that's saying like, hey, this was created by, one of our assistants, and, they would love if you could afford, like buying them a cup of coffee via tip, like $3 tip or something like that, for creating this wonderful piece of content. So that will actually be like an ongoing project forever. I mean, places that I frequent already is a few different areas in Mexico. I'm in Playa del Carmen right now, Bali, and a few others. So that would be one that would just go on and on and on because there's so many places. Another project would be to create an exercise database. So again, this is where AI would really come in, but to be able to hear me talk about like body parts, movement, different types of functional training, and to basically create this pretty robust database of different exercises that and with like different taggings, like, okay, this works the shoulder, and this would be for like stability, and this would be for blah, blah. I'm trying to like go fast. I don't expect for you to know this stuff, so I'm trying to like balance myself between how deep I go into explaining exactly what this would be without trying to teach you different movement modalities. So anyway, like a big exercise database, links to videos and tutorials on how to do the exercises, stuff like that. So it's like, this one is, like a yoga thing. This one is a Qigong thing. This one is animal flow, blah, blah. And then like once we create that, that would also be one of those things that we can just share online, again, with like a little tipping mechanism or something like that. Not to mention, I mean, the way our business works is like, we know how to basically think of how to produce opportunity from anything we see. We look at the world through a lens of opportunity and value creation. So all of these things, it's like, if we want that information, other people want that information. So maybe that could serve as like a lead magnet for our supplement brand. So that'd be pretty cool. Let's see. Yeah, self-explanatory. Yeah, I'm going to pause you real quick. So another super helpful thing, because I'm going to be, going pretty deep into trying to build personal brand and just like even get myself involved with the product brands and all that, would be if you can represent me in social media for basic commentary. So any situation in which it's like more one-on-one communications, to be able to take that over for me, which, a good question is, how would you use technology to do that? There's grunt ways of doing it, and then there's smarter, more efficient ways to do it. So how would you do that? But to be able to communicate, on my behalf with my personality, on various platforms, et cetera, et cetera. So that would be also like a continuous role that you would be taking on, generating excitement, answering questions to certain commenters, knowing the answer because of your experience and context working with me, whatever the case may be, just being able to keep up that engagement and keeping up that interaction, whether it's DMs or commentary, whether it's YouTube or Instagram, honestly, even dating apps. So like, if it's kind of interesting, I guess it's because it's one of the few areas that I'm actually willing to invest myself without forcing it. I really like social media is kind of hard for me to invest myself in, because I always feel like I look at it as work, and then there's always, in terms of that work scope, there's always other more important stuff in my mind to work on. But dating apps, that's part of my life. So as a digital nomad, so I always afford time for that. But what actually ends up happening a lot of times with the dating apps is I build network. I've actually hired numerous people that came from like Tinder matches and stuff like that. Or just became friends with, or in some way, shape, or form became a valuable part of my network. So to be able to scale myself, because dating apps themselves take a lot of time to manage. So for you to be able to scale me in that realm, again, there's grunt ways of doing it, and then there's smart ways of doing it. So I'm going to leave this pretty open-ended in terms of, I'm just going to ask you to reply back. Tell me about yourself. in your experience. Of course, you have the resume and all that stuff there, and we'll be looking at that. And there's a few questions for you as well. But talk through a little bit. Who are you? What is your true experience, and how it's going to relate to this? Resumes are kind of like, we all know they're like fluffed up and only like 50% true and all that stuff. And don't worry, I won't fault you for that. That's what everyone does. So in your video reply, tell me about yourself, and really make me confident that you are operating at a higher level than all the other applicants that are out there, that your interest and your passion truly is in this, and it's not just in being able to have a remote job. Whatever questions you have for me also, like if you need to ask me questions before you're able to do a really like quality response, that's cool too. Ask as many questions as you want. To be honest, I kind of forget what exactly the job has in it. And I think there's another video that's going to be posted. I might let this video replace the other one actually. But so there might be some other information that you're being provided, might not be. So yeah, just ask whatever questions you might have. We're also hiring a executive support. That is a different role, and it's more in line with like maintaining my schedule, my project and my tasking, to serve as a liaison between me and the rest of our team. So that's more on the professional side. But I'm expecting for you and for the executive support person to really like intermix well and become a bit of a team, because from my perspective, it's all the same. It's trying to scale my ability. It's trying to fill in the weaknesses of my personality, of my experience, whatever weaknesses there are, to help fill those in, and to make me more efficient, and really to just open up as much headspace for me as possible so I can get back into the realm of being more of an innovator and a creator, rather than managing some smaller tasking that I often find myself in. So let's see if there's anything else that's worth communicating in this video. I guess not. Cool, yeah, so let me know if you have any questions. And I feel like there's got to be at least one more thing. Here, let me find something else to talk on. Okay, here's one. So yeah, whenever I'm going to plop in one place for a while, so like Bali, I usually spend about 2 to 3 months in Bali whenever I go to Bali. And so if ever I'm like basically a month or more, I'm looking for local support staff, usually like a private cook, private chef, perhaps like a massage therapist that can come to the home, cleaners like apartment or villa cleaners. Depending on where we're talking about, a driver. Sometimes it's handy to have a driver in Bali, for example, or in areas where like Uber is not much of a thing, and you can't really motorbike around or whatever. So all these kinds of things, I would look to you as being the coordinator of. So basically, I communicate to you, and you are in WhatsApp or whatever platform. Usually it's WhatsApp, in whatever platform though, to communicate and organize and coordinate, these various like local support personnel. So, okay, yeah, here's another project that's worth communicating. Credit cleanup. So, I'm 37 years old, and I have tons and tons of accounts, various accounts that show up on credit reports that I might not have touched in like 15 years. And because of those accounts being open, that actually hurts my credit score. Or in other situations, sometimes like my my addresses, my actual like mailing address, my home address in those accounts is like super obsolete because I haven't lived there in like 10 years. And when we apply for credit cards or apply for loans, there's this like AI technology. It's not AI, but like technology that scans public databases and finds these accounts And either A, it can hurt my credit rating, or B, they see all those addresses and go, this seems like fraudulent activity. And so that's creating a problem for us. So there are these actual services that you can hire that do credit cleanups. But I've talked to a friend that actually, he's a financial guy, and he's aware of these. He's like, you really don't need to hire a service. It just takes like a little bit of research and you can do it yourself. So that would be a sort of project for you to take on. Do I expect that you would have had any experience doing anything like that ever? No, for sure. But I need to have the confidence that you would be able to take on something like that, something that you've never done before, something that you might not even fully understand that well, but to be able to research it, to learn it, and then to be able to take on that project in a way that I'm going to feel super comfortable and confident about, that you're going to, hit a home run. So these are the kinds of like little weird projects that could pop up, in addition to some of the more frequent kind of like always working on projects like the social media, I don't know what to call it, like the travel research, that kind of stuff. So anyway, shoot a video back. Give me the confidence that you're the person for the role, that you're going to be passionate in it, that you're going to be capable, that you're going to have the tech knowledge. That's a huge thing. The tech side thing is really, really important. I don't want to be teaching you how to use technology. I'd rather you be making me aware of technology that I could be using elsewhere in my life. That's the better dynamic. I don't want to teach you how to do stuff. You got to teach me how to do my stuff, the stuff that I have to do that no one else can do. For you to be able to teach me how to do it better and more efficiently, that would be awesome. But at the very least, for me not to have to teach you how to do stuff better or more efficiently. That's going to be what really makes you shine differently than the majority of other people that are watching this video. Cool? All right, so thank you for watching. This was actually tended up to be kind of a long video, so I appreciate your time watching it. Shoot me any questions, and I look forward to hearing back from you.